Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Friday Morning Devotions. Glad to be spending some time with you this morning. I don't know about you, but the last couple of days in my neck of the woods here in Marion, Indiana, it has been, needless to say, a winter wonderland. There's only one problem. I'm not a Wonderland fan, and I'm certainly not a fan of winter. I'm not really sure, why in the world I've lived in the Midwest, and especially in my senior years, which are coming quicker than I would imagined them coming, and certainly quicker than I am thankful or wanting. So I think I'd rather be someplace warm, but unfortunately that's not going to be a part of my life, at least not in the near future that I'm aware of. I don't have any big plans, or that I don't have a bunch of land someplace warm. So I will live in the place I live and be thankful for it, but I definitely don't like the cold, and I even more don't like the snow. I spent a couple hours last night, me and the snowblower out in the driveway and in the yard trying to make things clear and get things going. Needless to say, I am not a fan. I am a fan of thankful for having a snowblower, though. That's not something that not everybody has, and I certainly didn't have for a number of years. So I am thankful for that snowblower, I can tell you. Even when the snow blows back in my face, I think to myself, you're not shoveling. So that's pretty nice. Hey, now before we jump into this morning's Friday morning devotion, tell me this. Are you like me? Would you rather be someplace that's not cold and snow? Or do you like the cold and snow? And if you're not liking the cold and snow like I'm not liking the cold and snow, comment below and tell me where you'd rather be. I got to be honest with you, it's really hard for me to say which, because I've been to a few really nice places. But one place particular I really enjoyed and think it would be a lot of fun to be during the wintertime, and that is out in Arizona. I really enjoyed my time in Arizona. I've been there, I think, 3 times now. So I'm very thankful for the times I've had to be able to visit there. I think Arizona would be my number one spot. Next in line would probably be San Antonio, Texas, where it was 70 degrees when we flew in back a few years ago when we visited Texas. We drove up to Austin, and it was, needless to say, it was 32 degrees just as 2 hours north. So it's obvious Texas gets some cold weather in the northern portion of it, and some snow from my understanding. And I'm sure that as you get up in Arizona in the northern sections, you might run into some of that as well. They say you can find all 5 seasons in Arizona, so I'm going to take their word for it. I've not seen all 5 seasons in Arizona. I have enjoyed visiting Phoenix and Scottsdale and the Grand Canyon. We love to go in there, and I just forgot the place that we stayed. It was a blast to be there, though. So where would you rather be than be here in the cold and snow? Comment below, and if you're a snow person, go ahead and comment below. The rest of us will just sit and cry and look at your comments, all right? So let's get the Friday morning devotion, and now we're in part 2 of the series Perspectives. Last week, I began this series with these thoughts. Number 1, I am limited by my humanness and my sin, and so are you. This is not a popular thought. This is not a popular opinion. I don't even think it's an opinion, but I know that others think it's just an opinion. It is not popular to say that you and I are born in sin, and that you and I have an issue with sin, the vast time that we're breathing here on this earth, even those who follow Jesus Christ. That there is this argument, this battle going on inside of you between the good that you would do and the bad that you wished you didn't do. We are limited in our perspective by our humanness and our sin. Secondly, there are times when we don't think right. We think we are wise, but really we're quite foolish. Matter of fact, Paul actually commented on this in his letter to the church at Rome, specifically in the very first part of the letter, in what we call chapter 1 of the book of Romans. And he said, thinking they've become wise, they've become fools. And I've oftentimes wondered about this phrase, because there's situations I've seen where people thought they were doing the right thing, and man, they had 100%, maybe 110%, thought that they were right, only to find out down the road that they were wrong. And we can all find ourselves with this kind of thing going on, where we think we've got the right answer and find out it's not. But oftentimes there are situations when people are choosing things that are obvious, and they think they're wise, and yet we find out that they are not. They're quite foolish. And then the third thought I talked about last week is if you and I fail to see things through God's lens, God's perspective, we will actually add to an already difficult time that we have oftentimes here living in this life and on this earth. So that's what we talked about last week. Let's jump in this morning. Today I want to take a look at God's perspective of our choice making. When we make choices, I alluded to this at the end of last week, what's the rights or wrongs? How do we make choices? How do we make decisions? What do we do to make sure that we're making the right type of decisions? And so let me ask you just a couple of quick questions. What governs your thinking? What governs your thoughts? You say governs, what do you mean by that? What boundaries, what rules, whatever word you want to use, what do you use as a measuring stick for your thoughts to see whether or not they are thoughts that should or should not be pursued? And we can have thoughts that should and thoughts that should not be pursued. I guarantee you, we all are in a position sometimes where we have thoughts that should not be pursued. Again, we are limited by our humanness and our sin. When you make decisions then, is there a filter that you use to help you make the best decisions? Is there some filter? Is there some process? Is there something that you do that you say, okay, this is how I'm going to figure out if this is what the best decision would be? Well, this morning I want to talk to you about just a couple of thoughts